The Bears have set themselves up nicely for the top of the draft.
And was Rob wrong about defensive tackle?
That and more on this episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts.
The middle with the 15 to the 20, breaks free of the 25 to the 30, to the outside, 40, midfield, 40, 30 to the coast, 20, 15, Hester 5, touchdown Bears!
What's up, House Huddlers?
Huddle up.
I was a little off there.
Apologies. All right, that's fine. We did much better yesterday with the three of us, actually.
Yeah, good. We even got a little bit of a nod from Dr. Truth in the comment section saying it was one of the best remote ones. Yeah. So free agency, not a lot of movement on day 2. We're going to hear from Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson actually on Wednesday, 3 o'clock press conference, 3:30. I think they're supposed to be around.
All right.
As you alluded to, it's a little bit funny how everything happens so quickly. Now the legal tampering period is going to be over, and yet everything is already known.
Right. A lot of things anyway. And kind of to that point, we're going to react. Yesterday we did a breakdown. Today's going to be more of a reaction, but we're recording this Tuesday night. Probably won't be published till maybe Thursday. So if anything happens crazy between then and now, just understand that, there's a little bit of gap here, but we're going to do our best to still keep this informative and entertaining for you.
Yeah. So if Ryan Poles comes out and says, look, defensive tackle is the most important need on this team, that could be a problem.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So, obviously we won't be reacting to that, but we're here with our traditional news or noise segment. For those of you who are new to the podcast, our news or noise segment is brought to you by no one. No, we do have a sponsor of the show. It's sponsored by BetStamp. BetStamp is where you can go and find all of your betting needs. You can find all the best odds and sports books in your region. So go over to our specific page, signupexpert.com/huddle, and you can find everything in your region. I know, like I said, Missouri is new this year, so I know they have some stuff that are out, and constantly go back and check too, because I've noticed that there are some new ones in Illinois that pop up every now and then. So check that out. The news and noise segment, basically we're going to present a statement, and Bob and I are going to go and decide if we think it's news, as in we agree with it, it's something we should be looking into, concerned with, or is it noise? It's just, sometimes during the season you might have coach speak, or it's just rumors that are online that no one really cares about.
Just social media nonsense.
Yeah, the Facebook groups that can get a little bit crazy at times. So I'm in some of those, by the way.
Yeah, but the point is just to have some fun debating some topics. Don't take it too seriously, but just, what are people talking about it and how do we feel?
Yeah.
So with that, why don't you want me to toss the first one out?
Yeah, go ahead, because I'm excited about this one.
All right, so with the Bears, 5 big moves so far, all along the trenches. News or noise, the Bears have lined themselves up to take Ashton Jeanty or Tyler Warren at number 10.
This is news. That said, I don't think Jeanty's going to fall. So for those of you who want him, if he's there, I am all for taking him now. I have no problems taking him at 10 based on the moves that they have made. It still wouldn't be my favorite move. I think this running back class is just so deep that you can just get one later in the draft, second round, or trade back from 10, get another pick, take the running back later in the first round, right? Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, maybe one of those two. I know they like both running backs out of Ohio State. There's a lot of options. So from a value standpoint, I don't like the idea of Jeanty at 10 unless they view him. And look, he is one of 3 players who I think are considered. I hate using the word generational, but like the 3 best players, the guys who are locks to be, the floor is so high, it'd be very difficult for these guys to be bad players. He falls into that for me. Didn't play against top competition, so that kind of throws it a little bit of a wrench into it, but he did at times, tore up Oregon pretty well. So I think I'd be happier if they ended up with Tyler Warren in the situation, just because I think he's going to fit in really well with Ben Johnson, all the trick plays that they did. My little concern with him is, he's a 5-year, and I know the first year he didn't play very much, but he's a 5-year starter or 5-year college player and didn't really see that production until that last year. So sometimes that doesn't translate into the NFL. So I have my hangups about it, but I would be excited. Personally, I'm still hoping they trade back.
Yeah, so as the statement is written, specifically Ashton Jeanty and Tyler Warren, I am going to say news. Had it been written as running back or tight end, I would have said noise. I think what's getting lost in a lot of this debate is, the Bears are going to take a running back at 10. They're not taking a running back at 10. They're taking Ashton Jeanty at 10. As Robbie kind of alluded to, Ashton Jeanty is regarded as an elite running back prospect, the type of running back prospect that doesn't come around in every single draft. It's, not generational because it's a little bit more common than that, but every 2, 3, 4 years, maybe a running back like this comes out. So I wouldn't be advocating that the Bears are ready to take just any running back. It's specifically an elite running back. But to your point, I don't think he's going to be there at 10. Because he is that elite. So we don't even have to worry about that. So now you're talking about Tyler Warren at 10. Getting a guy like that who, the scouting report is basically a Gronkowski-sized Laporta. Like, that just sounds absurd, right? So if that's really what he is and that's what the Bears have scouted him as, that we're talking about elite, not available every type of draft prospect at tight end as well. And because you have made these improvements to your line so far, it doesn't require you to specifically take a first-round trench player. You can, if a generational, with quotes, generational type prospect at a non-premium position is sitting out there, I think you got to seriously take a look at it. And the Bears have set themselves up. They've lined themselves up to take that kind of prospect without, really hurting the outlook for their trenches in 2025 specifically.
Yeah, and we can foreshadow that with the fact that in the very near future, we will be doing another mock draft that's post-free agency that will focus on best player available. So that'll be coming out here in the near future. Definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss that episode. I'll throw the next one to you.
All right, sounds good. Are you going to throw it up?
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to make it so it didn't show up on the screen yet, and it didn't work.
That's all right. That's all right.
All right. So the Bears should have spent the extra $1 million per year in AAV to sign Chase Young instead of Dayo Odeyingbo.
Oh, Justin would be so disappointed. You nailed it yesterday, but
I got to hear him say it first. It's
I'm also not going to try it myself, so I'm just totally throwing you under the
Dayo. We'll just call him Dayo.
We'll go with Dayo. That's fine. So just kind of recap, right? Dayo signed with the Bears 3 years, $48 million. Chase Young signed with the Saints 3 years, $51 million. So very similar contracts. They're the same age, actually. Chase Young's been in the league 1 year longer than Dayo. So with this, I am going to say noise. And I'm going to say noise specifically because of Dennis Allen. Now, yesterday when we talked about this, I said that I'm not the guy who's just going to buy into all the hype and just believe what the Bears are telling me without questioning it, right? So I think it's fair if you're sitting at home like Chase Young, former contending for #1 overall pick, supreme athlete, played for Dennis Allen, all this stuff. We should have gotten him over this unproven guy, right? Well, Dennis Allen has done this before. He's built defenses in multiple places. He's been a defensive coordinator in multiple places, and he had Chase Young last year. And so he had a chance to basically get two players at the same contract, and he opted to take a flyer on the guy he hasn't coached. So I'm going to take that at face value. I'm not going to second guess Dennis Allen. Like, I'm more likely to second guess what Ben Johnson's doing. It's the first time he's ever been a head coach. There's going to be some mistakes he makes, but Dennis Allen has done this before. He's built teams before. So I'm just going to kind of trust his judgment on this one that, Dayo's a better fit than Chase Young for what he wants to do.
Yeah. This one's tough for me. I'm a pretty big Chase Young fan. I know he hasn't amounted to what, everyone thought he was going to be. But that said, I'm also going to agree with you. I'm going to go noise on this. And I know we don't like to try to agree on everything. So hopefully we'll get some back and forth later in the show. I guess for me, like, it's all about what you just said. It's the Dennis Allen situation, right? Like, there have been rumors that he's not, not Dennis Allen, Chase Young, that he's not the hardest working, like he's not out there putting in the effort all the time. Obviously, he's got an injury history, but he's kind of proved that he's gotten over that over the last 2 years. Had a decent year with the Saints as a rotational guy, wasn't the first or second string or first or second option. But if Dennis Allen isn't pounding the table for a guy that got essentially the exact same contract. I don't know what the guaranteed money was, but I'm going to assume it was very similar.
Fundamentally the same. $1 million. If you thought Chase Young was the guy, isn't enough to say no to it.
Exactly. So if he wasn't pounding the table for him, then that to me tells you all you need to know. I know we were on the mindset of, hey, he'd be a good option because of Dennis Allen, because of the familiarity. We all said the same thing with Khalil Mack, even though they only had a year together in Oakland before he left. This is the only reason why I say noise on this. But this is what's going to be interesting is this is one of those contracts, one of those situations that we need to look at going forward. Like, did the Bears make the right decision? And I get different situations can cause different outcomes, but it's still something we have to do, right? Whether we're fans, whether we're analysts, it's what you have to do.
Correctly comparable.
I'll also throw in the Josh Sweat contract is another one that we need to keep an eye on because he was also someone that was given a very similar contract, slightly more per year. I think it was $3 million more per year. 1 extra year, though. He got 4 years.
And Sweat is, I think, 3 years older than both of these guys as well.
Yep.
So it's not, it's a little different. I don't think those are necessarily as comparable. Now, Sweat goes and is get double-digit sacks for the next 4 years, and Dayo is, getting his 5.5, and Chase Young is just still inconsistent. Then maybe they should have gone Josh Sweat, but yeah, we'll just have to see. It's going to be something worth monitoring over the next 3 years. Just kind of see this kind of decision point that happened these last couple of days with those defensive ends.
Yep.
Okay, so next topic. The Bears obviously addressed the interior of that offensive line. So news or noise, fixing the Bears' offensive line issues fixes Caleb Williams' sacks issues.
Can I?
News or noise? We're binary, Rob. Come on.
Can I ride the fence? Is there a third option? Can I choose a different outcome? Because the answer is yes and no. So it's news and noise. It's news because, yes, the offensive line has been vastly improved, right? Drew Dahlman is going to be a better fit for this offense. He is just going to be. He's going to be a better, not necessarily a snapper because we didn't really have any snapping issues, but one of the things that I've been hearing is that he's going to be able to call out the protections in a way that Caleb Williams didn't have last year. So if that's the case and Caleb Williams doesn't have to think as much about that, then that would be ideal. Joe Thuney is a huge upgrade at right guard. I don't care whether it was Nate Davis of the Titans or Nate Davis of the Bears. Thuney is just a better guard all around. Better than Tevin Jenkins, right? So then you got Jonah Jackson in there too. The problem is that he's still a second-year quarterback, and he's going to make mistakes, and he's going to hold the ball too long at times, and we're still going to see that happen. Now, he had 50 sacks that he eluded last year on his own, which is insane because he was still sacked over 60 times. That's like, it has to get better, right? It has to get better. But there are going to be times, look, all 60 plus sacks were not on the offensive line. Caleb Williams is at fault for probably at least half of those. So it's news because it's an improvement. It's noise because I still think a second-year quarterback is going to make mistakes.
So I'm like firmly, fundamentally in noise here. I am a huge believer, a huge proponent that sacks are largely, not 50%, more like 85% on the quarterback. There's always going to be sometimes the offensive line misses a protection, or you got a Coleman Shelton just getting blown up or something like that. Like, I get that and I understand that. All right, you say that he avoided 50 sacks. I'm guessing that 42 of those sacks were his own fault, that he was holding the ball too long or something like that. I keep going back to Justin Fields last year here in Chicago. And he sat out 4 games. He got hurt. Tyson Bagent played 4+ games for him, and those 4+ games for him behind the same offensive line, the same offensive coordinator, was sacked 5 times total in those 4+ games, whereas Justin Fields, I believe, was sacked in the high 30s or low 40s in those other 13 games. Same offensive line, same scheme, same everything. The quarterback matters. So we're going to have to see. I think more than the actual talent of the offensive line, I'm more interested in what you kind of mentioned about calls at the line, just being more comfortable that you feel like the guys are going to be in the right place. Might have more of an impact. But, until Caleb Williams learns what Justin Fields never learned, that, you don't have to make the spectacular play every single down. For the most part, you just got to get the ball out in your playmakers, and then you make 3 or 4 plays a game instead of a drive. The sack issues are still going to always be there. So don't take this as me saying Caleb Williams will never get there, but it's way, way more than just improving the talent in the line where he's going to start taking fewer sacks. Like, he's got to improve how he manages the game behind the offensive line, no matter how talented it is.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw even when he was in USC, like, he thinks that he can make plays even when plays don't exist. That's the problem. I mean, Justin Fields had the same issue. It's just their mentality. So when, you alluded to, maybe 42 out of those 50 were probably at the beginning his fault, that definitely could be true because he was probably trying to make a play, and the eluding of the tackle was because he was getting outside the pocket or, making some heroic move within the pocket to make a play. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a cause for concern. We'll just have to see how that plays out.
I hope some heart-to-heart conversations with him and Ben Johnson happen, or maybe if they're not happening already. I don't know if they're allowed to be happening right now, but there's definitely room for improvement. I'm not saying he definitely won't improve, but the improvement will be mostly from him and not necessarily the improvements to the offensive line.
Yeah, I always go back, and it's funny how I go back to a movie, but it's based on a true story. But the Kurt Warner movie, the American Underdog Story, I think it was Understory, whatever it's called. He had the same issue. He couldn't get the ball out fast, and then he went to the Arena Football League, and you have to get it out fast because everything's just so much faster.
Yeah,
but it was literally like you have someone behind you, and you have a person with a stopwatch, and as soon as it hits that thing, someone hits him with a stick. Like, if you don't have the ball out, well, you're set. So I don't know what it's going to take to get him to get to that point. I will say I feel like he gets the ball out faster than Justin Fields, so I hope that he's moving in that direction.
Certainly he's more capable of doing it, to the right place in the right time, making the right decisions. But then we're going to have to get into, I think, what the biggest issue with him was not necessarily just the sacks. I guess that was bad too, but was his timing on the deeper throws. And I think that's going to come into play too. Like, when you're able to get into a rhythm and a timing system, which I'm hoping Ben Johnson can put into play here, it's not just the quarterback, it's the line, it's the wide receiver. I mean, there's so much at play. But if you can get that rolling in a rhythm and his timing is on, you're going to see less of these miscues. Yeah, 100%. All right, I'll throw this one to you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you, go check our channel. A couple of videos ago, we did a full breakdown on the defensive tackle position and the role the defensive tackle plays in Dennis Allen's defense. We foreshadowed that the Bears might not put too much of a priority on defensive tackle, specifically in the first round of the draft, but just in general. And then the Bears went out and signed Grady Jarrett. So news or noise, the Grady Jarrett signing proves Rob was wrong, and defensive tackle is a priority in Dennis Allen's defense.
Noise. I'm going to stand by my stance. I really am. I have to stick up for it because look, history doesn't show it. And look, signing a 32-year-old defensive tackle, yes, I know he got a decent amount of money, but it wasn't like astronomical amount of money. It's just not. It's not telling me that that's what that is. Right now, if they go and use that 10th pick on a defensive tackle on top of it, then maybe there's something there that I'm missing, right? Maybe Dennis Allen's changing his ways. I don't know. But I'm going to stand by the fact that prior to this, he has never had a defensive tackle reach a Pro Bowl or have an All-Pro vote within his system. The two that did it prior was out of his, not even during his time. Right. And then the two best that he had with Brian Breesy last year and the year before as well, last 2 years. And then, oh my gosh, I keep wanting to say Richard Seymour, and that's not it. I'm blanking on who the other one was.
He played in Texas. I forget his name. It was kind of a forgettable name. So
no, not Antonio Smith. Oh. No, the one other they drafted him 12th overall.
Rankins?
Yes, Sheldon Rankins. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, another good defensive tackle, but never amounted to a pro. And look, Pro Bowl votes are stupid to me. That's not my level of measurement that I'm looking for here. But all pro votes, I do think, make a difference. So look, none of them have amounted to that. He's used guys that were undrafted free agents, guys that were drafted in the 2nd, 3rd round, guys that were drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. I just think the main reason why they went after Grady Jarrett is to have that leadership like we talked about on that defensive line. And look, Grady Jarrett's a good player. So the better and more football players that you have that are good, the better your team's going to be.
Yeah, so I'm actually going news on this one, Rob. You idiot! You don't know what you're talking. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm going noise. And one of the reasons is kind of for what you like. I think we can argue about what significant investment means. There's enough wiggle room in that kind of definition, but I don't classify this as significant investment. Milton Williams going to New England for $26 million a year.
Overpay.
Significant investment. Grady Jarrett, a veteran who brings some leadership. At the 14.5 million, it's definitely not cheap, certainly not cheap, and also still might be an overpay, but I wouldn't call that necessarily significant investment. I think what it says more is, one, maybe they don't like Javon Dexter as much as we do. That's possible.
Horrible.
The other possibility is that they're not as in love with this defensive tackle class the way conventional wisdom seems to be for this draft. I think that's possible as well. And the other thing is kind of we maybe hinted at the top of this draft. They got 4 premium picks, 1 through 72. Maybe they have their eyes on other things, offensive line and some skill positions that defensive tackle just won't be addressed. And rather than go through the season, bargain basement, I think they had 2 guys signed off waivers play significant snaps last season, during the season. I'm talking like, off the street, come in and then playing 40% of the snaps during those last 6-7 games of the season after Billings went down. So this is just some insurance to avoid that and improve the leadership of your team a little bit. But I wouldn't necessarily say that defensive tackle is going to be featured heavily in Dennis Allen's system this year.
Yeah. I was trying to pull it up because I think you actually put the snap count in.
Yeah, I thought about bringing it up too, but I figured
let's see. Thomas Booker got some snaps.
Right.
No, wait, no. Sorry, that's not our team. Jonathan Ford got some snaps.
Jonathan Ford and that
Byron Cowart got a lot of snaps. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, so this is just so Grady Jarrett's better than that, right? And really,
Yeah.
Grady Jarrett should be a really nice compliment to what Andrew Billings does, right? Andrew Billings is more of a first, second down type guy, and Grady Jarrett will be more of a second, third down type of guy. And you relieve Dexter as you can with either Pickens or you move Dayo inside for some. So I just think it's more about shoring up the depth than it is trying to feature the defensive tackle in the system.
Completely agree, and I'm glad that you agree with me. All right. This is our last news or noise of the night. Before I hit this, I would like to just remind everyone to please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave comments. What do you guys think? Are you guys in different opinions of our news or noise? Where we say news, are you saying noise? Give us your reasonings, whether you agree or disagree, in the comments. I went to the wrong thing. All right. News or noise, Bob? The Bears have closed the gap between themselves and the rest of the NFC North.
I'm going to say news, and I still say that at the risk of trying to buy into the hype of what everyone's telling you. But the Bears were bad. The Bears were very bad last year. They played some very uncompetitive games. But they've addressed, I think, the biggest reasons for those games. Walking into every stadium undermanned in the trenches. Your offensive line is worse than the opposing team's defensive line and vice versa. And you go into each game with a coaching disadvantage. I believe that's been fixed as well. It still remains to be seen. Have they closed the gap or have they surpassed the gap? I don't really know, but they definitely closed it. And I think an argument can be made that every team in the division has also gotten weaker. The Vikings lost a quarterback who was in the MVP discussion. I know it's Sam Darnold, what you really think legitimacy moving forward, but the stats that he put up for the first 15 games of the year last year had him in the MVP discussion. He was never going to beat Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. I get it, but he was in that discussion. And now they've done some interesting thing in the trenches these last couple of days as well. So credit to them. Does that offset what they're going to lose going from a near MVP quarterback to a rookie? Maybe not. The Lions, obviously, everything they lost on their sidelines, and then they kind of shuffled some pieces on the field. But they should go down. And the Packers are a young team. They seem to not really make too many changes. And so maybe they'll stay the same or just naturally improve as a young team gets older. And that's fine. Good for them. But we've improved more than they have improved. So, yeah, they've closed the gap.
All right. Well, we're going to disagree here finally.
Great.
But you kind of ruined where I was going to go with it.
Well, hey, you're framing it a different way, obviously. So let's go.
Yeah, so I'm going to say noise, and I'm going to say noise for the fact that I don't think that the Bears necessarily closed the gap themselves, but I think it's what you alluded to. I think it's also the fact that some of these other teams are coming back down, right? Like you said, Minnesota, what are they going to do at quarterback? Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy? Who else is? I can't even think who else they had. They were trying to keep Daniel Jones, but he went to.
They lost Daniel Jones. They lost Nick Mullins. I forgot who I saw was there. Who they still? Oh, it was used to be with the Bears. Rippon's still there.
Yeah. So again, it's going to be J.J. McCarthy, rookie quarterback, coming off an injury. I just don't feel very confident in that. Right. Real quick, where is Minnesota? So Minnesota has brought back Aaron Jones, right? An older running back now at this point in his career, but had a good year last year and now is returned back to Minnesota. Now they did some interesting signings in the trenches. Will Fries, one of the guys that we had mentioned, is now there in Minnesota. Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle out of Washington. It was kind of like some people were like, hey, do you bring Jonathan Allen into Chicago and you pair him up with Montez Sweat again? Maybe you even get Chase Young in and you have the three of them back together. I mean,
Jonathan Allen at that 3 years, $60 million, that would have been significant investment in your defensive tackle.
Yes.
And then, maybe Rob was wrong.
Yeah, well, and they also invested in, and it hasn't been written out yet on what his actual contract's going to be, but they brought in Javon Hargrave. So
Okay, I didn't see that one. Okay.
yeah, so defensive tackles, this is according to CBS. So those two, and then Ryan Kelly, so they have a new center as well. So they've also done some improvements, right? It's just not enough for me, especially with how much influx the quarterback situation is. Now we go to the Detroit Lions. Obviously, the Detroit Lions have two huge losses: Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. That to me right there. Now you got, what is Campbell going to do, right? How is Dan Campbell going to make this his team even more? Was it his team the whole time? Was it a Ben Johnson offense that was doing everything for them? Aaron Glenn's defense kind of fell apart, but they had significant injuries, so they will get some of those guys back, right? Why am I blanking on the defensive end?
Hutchinson.
Hutchinson. I kept wanting to say Hawkinson, and I was like, that is not
much
it.
easier to remember these names when you're not the one talking.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. So Hutchinson, who by far, screw you, Jaguars. He should have been the number one pick, by the way. They signed Marcus Davenport, the defensive end out of New Orleans, that I thought might have been an option. Well, was in New Orleans. Then he was with Detroit last year, so I thought that connection would have been here, brought him here in Chicago, but he re-signed. Otherwise, they haven't really made any big moves. DJ Reed, cornerback, was their biggest move in free agency. So
that was after losing Carlton Davis. So
yeah,
they're just still downgrade.
Yeah. So why is my brain not working? How is Jared Goff going to do without Ben Johnson? Right. That's another big thing that we're going to have to see. So there's a lot of moving pieces there in Detroit. Green Bay, I mean, again, they've done pretty much nothing. They signed a kicker, Brandon McManus.
They signed Aaron Banks, right? They won the 4-year $77, so a little improvement. So
I'd rather have Jonah Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
I'm just joking. I think they're both about
something they did, right?
Yeah,
I'd rather have Jonah Jackson on 1 year than 4 years. To Justin's point yesterday, I'd much rather make that trade for Jonah Jackson than have to go out and sign Aaron Banks to a contract like that.
Yeah,
but I mean, whatever. I'm not here to crap all over the Packers. There,
I am. That's what I'm doing. I'm just crapping on the Packers. I don't care what they made.
I don't think they're a great team, but they're a solid, good team. And
Jordan Love
better, and then they'll be a little better next year.
Jordan Love might be the worst quarterback in the division this year.
Well, it might be, but
Matt LaFleur. I mean, he's losing the team up there. See, I just want to shit on him because I hate him. No, seriously though. I just think everyone's kind of coming back to the middle. I still think Detroit's going to be the team to beat, even with these big losses. They're going to be the ones to go out and prove it. I just don't trust Chicago. We've seen this too often. We've seen the offseason wins. We've seen the draft wins, and things just don't add up for the regular season. And until we see that come to fruition, I'm going to say that it's not so much that they have caught up. Look, they have definitely moved up from a production standpoint on what I think that these guys are going to do. I just think that the rest of the division is kind of more come down than they have come up.
Correct. And the Bears still might be number 4 in the division. That could be. But last year we were talking, maybe 4 teams from the NFC North will make the playoffs. So then the Bears lost 10 in a row. So clearly that was a joke from the beginning. But this year, even if we're 4th, it should maybe be closer. Maybe there's a legitimate chance, going 8-9, 9-8, and being in there to the end. So we'll just see.
I'll just leave it at this. If you can't stand the Packers, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, because I will bash them and shit on them without any backing up of my opinion. I don't need evidence for it. I'm just going to do it because they are the Packers.
That's an inarguable position.
It's going to be exciting times. We still have a little bit of this week left before free agency kind of slows down. Then we'll get more into draft season. Like I said, we're going to have a mock draft coming up for post free agency. Then you will have the second wave of free agency that usually hits after the draft. The Bears have put themselves in a good position. I applaud Ryan Poles. I applaud Ben Johnson. I applaud Dennis Allen. I'm not going to shit on their stuff too much. I know I was a little bit down on the Grady Jarrett signing originally, but I don't hate it. So that's all I got for free agency for now. You got anything?
No, I got nothing. We'll be back, towards the end of the week, getting into next week with some more content for you. Thank you guys for sticking with us through all this. I know we've been maybe barraging your whatever, not your inbox, but whatever
Timeline.
Your timeline with what we got going on. But we're excited about it. It's been nice to see that everyone else has been excited about it too.
Yeah, we appreciate all the new subscribers. We appreciate all of the comments, the likes. It's been a lot of fun. We would like to grow, and we'd like to grow with you guys. So keep that up. And for now on, bear down, claws up.